Greetings everyone, I hope we are all well. This is Lusapeto bringing you 8 p.m. Lights Out. While this might be a little awkward if you're listening to this in the dark or anticipating your share of load shedding for the day. In this podcast series, we speak about what load shedding essentially is, as well as how it affects township economies, or retail enterprises rather, in particular. So sit back, relax. This is 8 p.m. Lights Out, where we shed some light on load shedding by acquainting you with the dark. In this episode, we speak to Ms.Zodwa Mabe, a professional planner who works for the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. Let's hear what she has to say.
Can you please introduce yourself, what you do, and what you're about?
Okay. My name is Zodwa Mabe. Currently, I'm employed as a director responsible for development planning support within the Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, and Land Reform. I work within a branch, spatial planning and land use management. Basically, we are the branch that is responsible to manage or that is responsible for planning in relation to spatial planning and land use management. Basically, we are the ones that developed the act. I'm sure you know, Lusa, the Spatial Planning and Land Use Management Act, which is the act that was enacted in 2013, and it's, I'm not gonna say override, but all the other acts that were governing a spatial planning and land use management had to be, I told you, had to be, there's a term that we use in planning. It's not, it had to be sort of, it's the act after the DFA was called to be, you must remind me, Lucia, the English word. Oh my goodness, why am I forgetting? After unconstitutional, was deemed unconstitutional. So yeah, it's the main act that governs anything that's got to do with spatial planning and land use management. That's what I'm saying, that's the overall, what we do. I think mainly we support spatial planning, especially when it comes to rural development. We are very rural development biased, you know, but our act it governs spatial planning and land use management across all three spheres: local, provincial, and national. The main thing that our act says, it says municipal planning is the competence of local government. So remember with DFA, what do you call them? The board, the township boards were at provinces. Now, spatial planning and land use management access local planning, municipal planning is the competence of local government in all its facets. They govern everything that happens within their space. And then our act also says we must have special development frameworks at local, at provincial, and at national. So, and we're also responsible for the national special development framework because we're a national government. Nationally, basically in the national government, our responsibility is to develop policies. Provinces, they implement together with the local government. So that's basically what we do. My directorate responsibility, we give spatial planning support to the department and to the branch. Any spatial planning support we give to the department, it's us that are responsible for that. So that's basically that. Maybe about myself also, I studied a bachelor's in social science, and then I did my honors in social science, and then I did my master's through University of Pretoria in town and regional planning. So I think that is me in short.
Covered up very well, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
then, what are your overall thoughts on load shedding and its effect that it has had on the country in general and the country's economy?
Lusa, load shedding, and load shedding.
Mm.
I think as a country, we cannot afford load shedding anymore. You can see, first thing first, people have lost their jobs because now companies cannot afford to keep afloat. They've offloaded some of, instead of, for example, in retail, instead of a shop running with 3 people, it runs with one person because to keep those people and you are not able to pay them, also, it's not good on them.
Cost.
It costs, yes, it's a cost to keep 3 people and you are not making the profit as you used to. So on jobs, that is one big impact of load shedding. And you know, if people are not employed, that has an effect on our economy. The GDP goes down. But now the inflation is going up, affordability is something else. And also this stop and go, starting and going, it's really not good, especially your industries, you know. And also what load shedding has done, because now for companies to keep afloat, it's added an extra cost because now you must have an alternative energy source. Alternative energy source, it's not cheap. And also those companies that provide that service, you know, most the demand informs the supply. Once there's a demand and then the cost, you know, now your solar energies, your alternative energy sources now have gone very expensive. Whereas before, because now the demand is high, you know, if there's a demand and there's less supply, so that anyone can put up a price that, so companies have had to share their profit margins now, use them on alternative energy source. So that is not good for our economy. And also, investors are no longer interested in investing in a country, because how do you invest in a country that's and it's unstable? You know, instability, it deters investors.
Yeah, they
So
don't wanna
we
take
get less and less investors. And you know, if you don't have investments, because a lot of companies investing more jobs for our people in the country. So I think that's load shedding. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I only complain for my household. I can imagine those that are in business. Also, many people have lost their businesses.
True.
Many people have lost their businesses. Businesses went down, closed shops because they cannot afford to keep afloat. You know, if you're not making any profit and you have to pay rent, you have to pay salaries, you have to survive. What do you do when that doesn't happen? You just close shop and that's it. So I think I hope I've answered that correct well, Lusa.
Yes, you have. And then do you see the situation improving in the future, or is this the potential doom of our country?
I will not prophesy doom.
Mm-hmm.
The situation can improve. See, I'm using the word can, and it should, because now, I mean, our government has tried to introduce a ministry that is given the responsibility, ministry, and we have a minister responsible for that ministry, Minister of Electricity. So having a dedicated ministry that will make sure that this electricity crisis is resolved. So I think we are taking a step in the right direction. That's how I see it. Not only, and I think you're aware that for the past 2 weeks, we're not getting as load shedded as before. We're getting load shedded early in the morning and late in the evenings, the businesses can operate during the day, Anyway, if that's what we want, in the evening, we become less active, economically, shops are closed. Okay, it's those industries, but businesses can survive with the load shedding stage 3 and below. The other higher stages, whereby you can't do business for 2 hours. 2 hours is a lot for someone who runs their business. For example, in your food retail, if you sell food and electricity is taken between 12 and 2, that's your prime time where you maximize your profits, So the situation can improve. It and it looks like it will, since we're having a dedicated ministry that will focus solely on coming up with strategies, interventions, because what we hear is the major cause of the load shedding is the aging infrastructure, that must be fixed, that must be maintained, and also people doing their job in those power stations, So I think the minister will tighten measures, and then it will improve, and it must improve, because if it doesn't, then our country will just go down and down and down. And as you know, that South Africa, especially in Africa, we are one of the states that is regarded, that is doing well, and internationally and locally, globally, we are able to compete globally. But if we go down and down, then that is it.
Yeah, so if anything, there is hope, and we just have to wait and see and believe in the
Yes.
ministry that has been put
Yes.
up, that he will do
Yes.
what he was put there to do.
Yes.
Okay. So in
Yes.
my study, I'm looking specifically at township economies and how load shedding has impacted them. So looking at township typologies and how they came to be, what do you see as the long-term implications of load shedding in these areas in specific?
In township economy.
Yes.
Okay. Like I've said that, also with township economies, they are small scale, they are small scale, and also their profit margins, they're not big. So now, if they can operate, mainly those township economies, they are for people's livelihoods are dependent on them. I don't know if am I making sense?
Yes.
People's livelihoods are dependent on them. Load shedding, if someone can't do business, it leads to poverty, food insecurity, and also, as I've said, that with township economies, most of those businesses are small scale, small emerging businesses, and they can't afford your generator. They can't afford your generator. In most cases, when there's load shedding, they close the business, and now it means no profit for them. So, and for me, I don't know, government is not coming to their rescue either, especially those township economy, especially the emerging, because even banks, they're disadvantaged because they don't have security. So for them to get loans from banks, they are starting from a disadvantage baseline, disadvantage baseline, and now load shedding disadvantages them even more, And when you start a business, your plan is to grow. If now you can't operate your business, how do you grow? Instead of growing, then you die down, you die out. So basically, and it creates, because those people are those people whom the employment sector cannot absorb them. And then when they do this, they try to make means to survive, and then load shedding is killing that. It's, it becomes more and more difficult, So I think that's basically that. I'm not sure if I've covered your question well.
Yes,
Krista.
you covered the following question as well, because I was
Thank
going to
you.
ask, yes, what you understand township establishments to be and the importance in society. And you mentioned that the livelihoods of people depend on these small emerging businesses. So you get to see that they're actually very valuable in society. And then I'm going to ask, how have you experienced the township and its microeconomy? And how has this changed from how you experienced these spaces in the past and how you experience them now to date?
That's one. I grew up in a township, Elisa. Originally, I'm from Soweto. So when I look at the Soweto where I then and the Soweto now, I mean, we've gotten a lot of investors. Your Pick and Pay is one big change, or a change though, that we've got malls. When I grew up, we used not to have malls. And you know the history of townships, Lusa. The history of townships, like Soweto, a good example. During the apartheid the then government built townships as the areas to relegate your people of color. You've got Black townships, colored townships, Indian townships, and all of those, they're on the outskirts of the CBD. So basically, it wanted to keep them at bay, and then they would come to the central business district as your labor force, your normal labor force. But now, and when I grew up, we would have to catch a taxi or catch a bus to go to the CBD to shop. And now it's different. Now, with town planning, there's a concept where we say you live, you work, you eat. Now townships are more like that now. Township are now, we've turned townships into mixed use things, into mixed used. Yes, because townships, you can just walk across the road into your Pick and Pay. You don't have to catch a taxi and spend money. You shop where you live. Basically, that's shop where you live concept. And people also work in those. So you work, you shop, and you live in townships. So townships, and I'm happy because not only one, we've got a lot of shopping centers, shopping malls in Soweto, for example. So, and also that says there is buying power within our townships. People are able to buy. And also because with those Pick and Pays, they are more reasonable than those general dealers we used to have. We used to have general dealers. Pick and Pay, it's a chain store and they buy in bulk. And when you buy in bulk, you get less price. You're also now able to sell your stuff reasonably to the consumers, So basically, the township growing and not only with those shopping malls in the townships, what they do, they also empower local people. They also, because some of those shops are owned by the local people, your bakeries, someone used to bake at their house. Now they rent a store at a mall, and at mall there's a lot of traffic. So that shopping mall there has a ripple effect around the space around it, So I think basically, presently, I think, not only, I mean, we've got big dealerships. Maponya has got car dealerships along Klipspruit Valley. Who would have thought in my days when you're growing up, who would have thought in Soweto we will have a car dealership? And it's not only one, it's for BMW, it's for VW, and Toyota. Yes. So that's we are at that level as far as township economies are concerned. Maponya Mall, it's one of biggest mall, it's a regional mall, Maponya Mall. So that's how developed our townships are currently.
Yes. So how would you explain your experience with the micro enterprises, like you mentioned general dealers, so the small businesses that are not necessarily registered but are operating within that terrain? How has that changed then, and what is currently happening if they've changed?
Just me experiencing it. I think those big retailers like Pick and Pay have kind of had an impact on your general dealers. Like I've said that initially in the olden days, few years ago, we only had those general dealers, and those were our daily grocery stores. You know, if you want bread, if you didn't want to go catch a taxi and go to town, you would use those. But now that your big retailers change those like Pick and Pay have come, somehow it has impacted those corner shops, because also, like I've said, that Pick and Pay buys in bulks, so they're able to cost less. So if I know that I can get bread for 18 rand at Pick and Pay, and the general dealer by the corner sells it for 20 rand, you always buy on a lesser, on the one that costs less. But not only, that's one part that malls or those big retailers have killed the small businesses, the corner shops, your fruit and veg, a shop owned by a guy locally. Not only, what I've read recently, as much as I'm talking about those retail stores like Pick and Pay, what Pick and Pay has done has teamed up with your local general dealers. They've teamed up with them to say, let them be the one that runs the local Pick and Pays. I'm not. So one good example, I think there's 3 already in Soweto. One is in Rockville. They call them Mabe. I know the lady because she was our neighbor, Mom Wanda. The son is running the Pick and Pay local. They turned their small general dealer into a Pick and Pay. So for me, that is growth. And then they said they used to employ 3 people. Now they employ about 12 people. Job creation. So there's negative and there's positive. Positive comes in when these big retailers team up with your small businesses to be part of these initiatives that they start in our own townships, like empowering the local people. So that is that.
This marks the end of our episode. We trust that you will join us for the next one. Bye.